All right. We are here once again in the MASKast studios, ready to go over another episode. It's been quite a while, but we're back and ready to go to Boulder Hill this time.
Yeah, this is episode 54, and we'll get into it in a moment, but wanted to apologize for our diehard fans out there. It has been some time, but nonetheless, we are back, like Jason said, in the MASKast studios, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna fire it up here in just a moment or two.
Yes. It's been a while since we just chatted about M.A.S.K and what's been going on. There's been a couple things that's popped up recently that we'll get into in our Get Your Mask On segment. But yeah, it's still kind of quiet with the movie world. We've been on pins and needles for almost a year, well, over a year now, I think, and
Well, ever
still
since that
no
little bit of
movement.
almost a quiet, like they almost pushed it away, they didn't quite say it isn't happening, but they kind of just hushed it off into the corner.
Hmm.
So I think that's why we're on pins and needles because we're waiting to see what is really going on.
Yeah, made the big announcement, and we're all hyped, and here we are, waiting, still waiting. Uh,
And waiting some more.
yeah, and I think the last time we talked, it showed the movie schedule was nowhere to be found, and yeah, I don't know at this point, but we'll still keep hoping it's a dream
That's it.
someday. So, all right, well, you want to go ahead and get into the podcast, and we'll get going here.
Yeah, let's start it up.
Okay, here we go. Welcome, agents, to MASKast 70 and another exciting episode review of the Mobile Armored Strike Command animated series. Coming up, we will take a look at episode 54, Fog on Boulder Hill, which will include our normal play by play commentary along with audio clips mixed in from the actual episode. And of course, we'll stop and give our impressions and our little mini reviews at the halfway point, and then at the conclusion of the episode, we'll give our final verdict and along with our 1 to 5 scale rating. Then we'll turn the floor over to our listeners and announce the results of our poll and also read back a couple of reviews that were left for this episode. You can always do that at agentsofmask.com and look in that right hand column, and you'll find the MASKast assignment. Click on the picture and you're over to the embedded video, and you'll see our poll, and you can leave a comment so you can participate in these episode reviews. Don't have too many more of these left, actually, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Fog on Boulder Hill was originally broadcast on December 12th, 1985 in the United States and features Venom after an older woman who is in possession of some $20 bill printing plates. Hungry to print some counterfeit money, Mayhem and his thugs attempt to kidnap the woman who is protected by Matt Trakker and the M.A.S.K agents. The pursuit leads to an epic battle between the factions at Boulder Hill. I'm Jason, one of your hosts of MASKast, and along with me, as always, is my longtime friend and fellow co-host, the Eddie Spencer to my Jake Kong, Mr. Wyatt. Have you seen any ghosts lately?
Yeah, it scares me to death. Ah! We just actually reviewed that. If any of you are fans of ours, on the
Mm-hmm.
other entity, we do a series called Rediscovered over on Rediscover the 80s. And we just actually covered that episode as just going down it. And hence why Jason probably picked it because we're running thin on the his to my thought, my
Yeah.
whatever. So it's kind of funny that you posted it up, and I we will focus you over there to read to listen and watch that. But
Yeah.
it was funny to rewatch and be truly rediscovering that whole series.
Yeah. Filmation Ghostbusters, of course, is what we're talking about. And it was really eye-opening, mainly the voice acting.
Mhm.
I shouldn't be surprised, but we went back and we reviewed the first 5 episodes, which was essentially like a mini series, and to learn that Optimus Prime himself, Peter Cullen, voiced a slew of different characters, different accents, and it was great to just kind of understand. Wow, he can do a lot more than just Optimus Prime.
I think
we.
we've commented probably more so on Rediscovered, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even on our memory jogger, where uh, his name escapes me. The guy that does Megatron. Um,
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
yep, I had him on the tip of my tongue when I said it too.
Frank Welker.
Frank
Yeah.
Welker. We sit there and think how diverse he is because he did a slew of voices, and I mean, he almost ranges the spectrum
Yeah.
vocally,
He's the king.
and we hear typically the deeper voice of Peter Cullen trying
Mm.
to pull off one shall stand, one shall fall, or even, you know, Ironhide with his little we'll sizzle his transistors, a little bit of country twang in there,
Right.
but
Right.
we don't see him doing Eddie, who's a bumbling idiot, basically,
Mm-hmm.
scaredy cat, and then he does the Haunter, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a British type of hunter, ghost
Yeah.
hunter, in the bad guy sense. And by Jove, sir, we will catch those Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's fascinating how diverse. We talk about Doug Stone, in fact, how diverse he was. I mean, he went from playing obviously a white character, white role. He played a black role there in Mask with, geez, my head's going,
Hondo.
Hondo. And
It's
then
been
we
a
got,
while. It's okay.
it's been too long. Then we got Bruce, he's playing an Asian.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about doing a lot of anime roles back in the day. So he
Mm-hmm.
did just a slew of ethnicities and races. And it's cool that he can pull that off. I
Yeah.
don't think I can pull off much more than my country twang, and that's about as far as I can get to it. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. That was really fun to see, and yeah, head over to the Rediscover the '80s podcast and check out episode 5 of Rediscovered, where we talk about the series, break it all down, and it was cool. I was a little worried because again we had not watched episodes in a long time, and uh, I should have known, since it is Filmation and our love of Masters of the Universe and He-Man, even She-Ra to some extent, that it was still in that level of quality. And sure, it's got its own little quirks and stuff while you're watching. Like we mentioned, Filmation loves to rehash the same sequences with different backgrounds, but um, it was still a fun watch, and would recommend everybody going over to the YouTube channel called The Original Ghostbusters and check it out, because most, if not all, of the episodes are there, and you can't get the DVDs anymore, so it's good they posted them there.
Right.
So yeah, that was fun. So go check that out, and we'll keep moving right along. We'll get our mask on. And I just feel so out of touch, man. We haven't talked a lot. We haven't talked Mask in forever. But have you seen this new Mask comic series done by this fan, Carol Wack?
It is very interesting. I should have been more open-minded, but
Mm-hmm.
after seeing that series that we were all anticipating for, I was a little disheartened with the last series of the Mask comic that just got published. I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. The multi-universe. I mean, we've talked at length, especially with Bill Ferris,
Mm-hmm.
but this one is actually, I would say, a lot closer to what we remember. Obviously, it's
Absolutely.
his unique role, take on it, and what he would like to see. But I thought it was a lot A lot truer to the original. That's the right way I'm trying to think of it. Truer to
Hmm.
the original comic or the cartoon than this one that Hasbro, aka what was the publisher's name?
IDW, yeah.
Yeah, IDW pulled. It was, yeah. The
It
fan did
was,
better.
yeah.
The fan did better than the other one. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we've even talked about that when that comic, the first comic for IDW came out, that wouldn't it be nice to get another series going that was more the classic version
Hmm.
and not the kind of updated real world or real time version of Mask, to be going at the same time. Well, we never got that. We got little um, hints of it here and there as we're reading through the story, and obviously it was a new story, new origin story, and how it all integrated with Transformers, GI Joe, like you mentioned, and they even had a little spin-off First Strike series after that ended that was still multi-universe.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, this was just kind of uh, the style obviously was new and modern and great, but you still had the classic schemes, and it was
Yep.
very colorful, classic designs of the vehicles and masks, everything that we're just wanting in something like that we can easily identify with, and it takes us back more than kind of the more updated designs of vehicles and so forth. But yeah, I really enjoyed it too. It was fun. They put some little cameos in there, and
Hmm.
we had Scott and T Bob show up for a minute, or T Bob at least, and then he he put the what's his face from the Breakfast Club in there at the school with
Hmm.
Hondo Bender. That was fun, and it was just fun, man. That's what I kind of walked away from it. It was a fun 4 issues
Yeah.
to read, and just visually appealing. So I very much applaud him for his work. We've talked a little bit, kind of direct messaging back and forth, but uh, he would be one I'd want to get on the show, sometime in the near future, just to kind of get his motivation and everything behind doing a fan comic. Coming up with a story, and I don't know if he did the whole story and design and coloring. I think he did have some help with putting it all together, but still, I mean, for doing something for free, this was awesome.
Right.
you know, hats off to Kerouac on that one. And you can find those 4 issues up on our site, over on Bill's site, MattTrakker.com. Really cool. We had some sad news just this past week. Voice director Stu Rosen of M.A.S.K. and of many other shows back in the day, he passed away. I believe he was 80 years old. Um, I got to quickly message a few of the mask voice actors that I was friends with on Facebook, and see if they could get a little sentence or two about them. Doug was quick to put up on his Facebook about his experience and everything, offering his condolences, and so did Mark Halloran. So it obviously we're all getting older.
Hmm.
Mask is now coming up on its 35th anniversary next year.
Yeah.
So 34 this year.
34.
Um, so everybody involved with it is not getting much younger, and
No,
us who watched
unfortunately.
it as kids were in our 40s. You know, it's just the circle of life, as they say. But yeah, it was just sad, and just looking back, it got me a chance to look back at his career and how he got involved. He has had a kids show that he started back in the, I think, early 70s. That was pretty popular, and that pushed him into voice, a little bit of voice acting and directing. He was involved with Fraggle Rock and a slew of other cartoons, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. I I can't remember all the other ones off the top of my head, but
There was a bunch that he was involved in. I was
yeah,
really surprised.
yeah. And so I reached out to the people there, got that fun picture that Doug shared with us. I think it was about a year ago
Hmm.
of it was some kind of after party after they had finished up Mask for the day or something, and Stu and all pretty much all the voice actors were there in the picture, and that was really fun to see. So yeah, check out that article. Excuse me, on our website. If you want to learn a little bit more about Stu Rosen and his career, and then just a quick plug too for Bill and Behind the Mask. God bless him. I don't know how many episodes he's up to now, but he is really carrying the torch. Pretty much for the whole mask community. We haven't been, recording much this year, but man, he has been pumping out some episodes seemingly every week, and really just diving into episodes, his own collection. He goes off track a little bit on other cartoons and just random stuff. Some of the toys and weird knockoff toys that he has in his collection. So big ups to Bill. Go over there to MattTrakker.com and especially his YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. He's really putting out some fun stuff for the community. And I got a quick message too from Scott Crawford, who runs the Mask Comics blog, and he had put up on his page this movie poster. It had two act. I can't remember who they had for Matt Trakker. They had Pierce Brosnan for Miles Mayhem, which I
Hmm.
thought was an interesting call. But it was just I guess an old poster that somebody had put together a while back. He put it up there, and boom, it just took off, and everybody was sharing, and it got some really good buzz around it. So yeah, I mean, see that it just kind of proved to me that the fans are really want that movie, man.
We
We
do.
want it so bad.
Forgive us because we haven't been on the mask scene as much this year. Just uh, uh, tons of things going on with us in our personal lives, especially me. But that aside, I mean, we are still just head over heels about mask. We don't want to fade off into the sunset, as it were.
Right.
We still have our own ambition of seeing our script up on the screen. At least I do. Um, but we still like to see a mask movie come to fruition. We'd like to see, um, heck, the comics. I mean, Jason and I have talked off and on about putting our own fan comic, turning our script into a fan comic, and just having fun with it and seeing what how it goes. If it would if we'd
Yeah.
find out it was going to be a dud or a success anyway, you know. So it and Jason stole my thunder. I was going to plug Bill, so that's what I get. That's what I get. But Bill has been churning them out. He's up to, I think I saw season 3, like
Hmm.
in the 20s of episodes. I don't
Yeah.
know how he's carrying the seasons, if he's doing a yearly thing as a season or if it's like TV, fall, spring, winter. I
Hmm.
don't know how he's carrying that season title, but nonetheless, he's just pumping them out, and good on him. He's been really carrying our side in a way, manner of speaking, because like I said, we've just been absent,
Yeah.
not
Well,
not purposely.
right. We go through seasons ourselves, just we'll pick up Mask for a while and we kind of put it down. We're on to this or that. And sometimes we got to put everything down for a while and just step away and recharge the batteries, take care of, family and all
Hmm.
that stuff that we've got going on. So as much as we love to do it, it's just not sometimes not in the cards, as they say, to
Yeah.
get on there. But we're working through that. We're trying to get back into a regular schedule to at least get one of these out. I would say a month, but um, we're also not too far away from the end. We're up to what 54, episode 54 in this episode, and there's 75. So
Yeah.
do the math.
21 left.
It's been an awesome journey. It really has going
Yeah.
through these and
I'm trying
um
to remember the year. of when we started this. I want to say we're on year 7
I
of
think so.
MASKast. I mean, obviously it's not a complete year, especially this year, but we're on year 7 of MASKast, and we feel like we're going down a bunny trail, but just humor me. We started the podcast as well as the website as a way to reach out to Hasbro without having to foot stomp our way through LA trying to find it. But
Hmm.
it's pretty been a great journey, and I love this. It's helped us, especially with our radio
Yeah.
broadcasting that we still love to do.
Heck, we were still Mask the movie back in the beginning, and it's funny now. If I go back and listen to one of the earlier episodes, I want to redo it as Agents of Mask, and I guess that's kind of part of it with us doing the agents watching Mask little clips, starting back from the beginning. We get to kind of go back through and review those, first few episodes, and hopefully in about a month I'll be up there and we can do some more of those agents watching Mask episodes, and kind of start back from the beginning too, because like I said, now that we're 7 years removed from starting, and we called ourselves by a different name and everything back then, and we were using I can't remember what podcast service we were using, but we were limited to like 30 or 40 minutes, so we were
We
kind
started
of
out with Skype. We started out with Skype and Pamela, but the free version of Pamela was only a 20-minute free clip of recording. So
yeah, but
Jason had to record like 3 or 4 sets of Pamela
that's right.
to make
Yes, I forgot about doing
one
that.
whole, and that was just the audio podcast. We didn't do video. I
Yeah.
want to say it was year 3 or so is when we decided or we
Hmm.
figured out Google Hangouts, and we could do video.
Buzzsprout was our
Buzzsprout.
host. Yeah, and then we were limited to so much time per.
Hmm.
I think it was per month,
Yeah, we
something like
were.
that.
Yeah.
We couldn't go over like 2 hours a month or something for the free version. But anyway, so here we are. We've kind of figured it out, and we can record as long as we want to.
Or until you guys get bored of us talking
Right?
about our 50
Yeah.
different rabbit trails. That's why we
Yeah.
started up Memory Jog to try to cure that.
Yeah. Yeah. Get the rabbit trails into a podcast instead of always running down them on this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I guess that's going about do it. Unless you had anything else you wanted to share as far as get your mask on or anything else
No,
going on.
no, that's I think about it. I think we should get it on and let's start the MASKast. Surprised I still remember that. Just kidding. So we cut right into a car journeying through the Valley of the Gods, aka Airwolf's lair. I had to pull that out because that's what I saw. With the car overheating and pulling into the Boulder Hill gas station. Buddy walks right up to the woman and tells her not to turn it off or it will crack the block. Dusty asks her to open the hood, and she states that she just purchased this car and didn't know where anything was or much about cars anyway. Upon opening the hood with the steam kind of surrounding Buddy, he calls out to Scott to bring him the hose, and it takes him a couple seconds for Scott to appear. Like, did Scott hear me? I mean, that's how I took it. So we see Cleopatra the poodle sees Scott and begins to bark, with Scott recognizing her as Mrs. Simpson, who used to babysit him. After a few exchanges, Cleo barks at T-Bob, with his reaction being skittish, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
while he tries to be polite by saying, "Nice doggy." Buddy deduces that the water pump is cracked and he'll need to drive into town to purchase a new one. Buddy turns around to clean up, I think, at least that's what it looked like, with Matt suggesting that Buddy could drop her off at her house. Mrs. Simpson invites Scott to come along with him, asking both her and Matt if he can go. They all climb into Firecracker's single cab, with T-Bob asking what he should do. And Buddy replies that he should mind the station. And T-Bob explains that they'll have all the fun while he'll be bored. And that's when they drive down the road.
Right. And Miss Simpson there asked Scott if she should make fudge for him like she used to when he was little. Of course, he agrees to that, and about that time, Buddy like spins off the road, and we see Outlaw, Jackhammer, Manta, and Piranha speed by them in the other direction. And Scott shouts, "Venom!" And Mrs. Simpson calls them rude drivers, and they should be reported. But he agrees and opens the onboard computer screen, which I didn't know Firecracker had one of these, but I guess since Thunderhawk does, all the vehicles should have some kind of screen that pops up, or
What I was surprised about it, that it mimics Thunderhawk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. On the passenger side, where we would call the glove box. That's where it's at, which is where Thunderhawk is. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and Mrs. Simpson doesn't say anything about how do you have a computer in your vehicle.
Yeah, really, especially back in the 80s.
So anyway, he sends a message back to Boulder Hill that they've got company coming with a capital V, and this is where we see T-Bob. He is outside with the hose when Boulder Hill begins to convert, and he wonders what's happening as the transformation continues. Then for starts, then fog starts to billow up from this. I don't know. It was like an opening in the ground, and the fog just kind of comes up, giving Boulder Hill cover.
Yeah, I thought of them as basically like a steam vent of some sort.
Yeah, right. And there was a little bit of a mistake there where there was that building shot of the fog coming up, and then when the converted Boulder Hill is shown from a distance, there's no fog there. But
well, it's actually they had the gas station, and then they had the fog when it should have been the converted armor plated. Let's take some action.
Boulder Hill. It had converted, and then it showed it at the regular station. That's what it was. Yep. Anyway, so T-Bob is banging on the garage door to let him in as Venom approaches, and the fog is all around, and Dagger's wondering where they are. And I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure where we were. So the gas pumps,
Vanessa.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that, because me and you take two different types of notes.
Well, I was going to complete the scene, but then there was another full paragraph here, so I thought I'd pass it off.
So Vanessa sees something up ahead. Rax adds that he'll take care of it. He just begins shooting nowhere. I mean, just shooting all over the place, like he's shooting off his mouth. Yeah. Anyway, he's shooting it, and then while T-Bob keeps pounding on the building, asking to let him in, the gas pump guns turn to fire. One momentarily disappears, if you noticed, as it transforms.
I missed that.
It just like they forgot to
put it back up there.
Well, like the slide, the animation slide, film, or what do they do? They forgot to add it. Anyway, one of which hits Manta and seems to stun Vanessa, like it's more like a lightning bolt. Boulder Hill cannon. There's the Boulder Hill cannon that pops a lid, and it kind of just falls off the side of the hill. It doesn't even hinge. And we see Matt in the cannon rising up, with him saying, "I'll give them something to think about." And he blasts a crater in the middle of the road, with Miles screaming and Outlaw falling right in. He calls to Nash, saying to return fire, "You chicken head." And then Nash replies, "At what?" And then the fog just seems to get thicker. At least that's how I saw it. And then Rax seems to be aimlessly firing again and asking, "Where's the enemy?" Now we see the billboard guns shoot out lifter beams, which was kind of cool. And it lifts Rax and Piranha, and then just kind of drops them right back to the ground while T-Bob is trying to keep a low profile. A blast goes by with Rax complaining that it's him they're firing at. "You pinhead." Miles instructs to pull back and get out of there. The confused Rax thought they were after that old Simpson lady, but she wasn't at her home. And this is where Miles interjects and says, "She isn't here either." Then they go outside of Outlaw with Nash using the powerhouse mask, which gives him the incredible strength to push Outlaw out of this crater. What I did notice in that little tiny scene is the seatbelt. As he's being pushed, you see it actually moving, like it's swaying. Really? It's actually, swaying, which is pretty cool. They actually
I didn't notice that.
But then Venom ends up leaving the area with the fog being turned off and Boulder Hill changing back into its regular everyday gas station. That takes us inside.
Yep. T-Bob walks in the front door and then into what I call the war room with Matt and Bruce there, telling them this is the last time I watched the station. He was locked out and almost blasted. Well, Bruce suggests he did him up.
I have Bruce adds that he's adding some laser to him.
Yeah, Bruce suggests that he could add a couple lasers and a radar probe to T-Bob to basically weaponize him. He says, no way. If he has weapons, they'll expect him to fight Venom. So Bruce kind of quips here, sometimes the best defense is to avoid the battle. Bruce asks what Matt thinks, and he says if T-Bob is their first line of defense, they better call backup. He asks the Boulder Hill computer then for the best agents for analysis of unknown offensive by Venom. I was like, what? What? So you're asking for the best agents for some unknown attack.
Right.
That just did not make sense to me. But anyway, we get Julio Lopez as the cryptography analysis specialist, I think is what they say. Alex Sector as the computer and communications expert, and Bruce Sato is pre-selected. And I was like, well, what about Buddy? They didn't include Buddy. He should have been pre-selected too, or something. I was like, man, doesn't even get announced by the computer. They should just write him out of the, story from now. Anyway, after they are assembled, we get back to Alex not being able to find anything on Venom, surprisingly.
And that's where Matt states that they were after something. T-Bob adds that they were after Mrs. Simpson. Alex seemed equally confused as to why they would target her, but Matt thinks it's worth investigating. So Matt asks the computer for information on Mrs. Clara Simpson. And it spits out she's age 70, retired, widowed, a retired school teacher, lives alone on W.E.N.O.M Road. And then we see the printout, I took note that, the printout on the screen is not words, just blah, 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 which I thought was, I liked it as it's ambiguous because of where all the countries that this got distributed to. Back in the day, I would have said, well, why didn't they put, W.E.N.O.M Road? Why didn't they put, her age and all this stuff? But it makes sense as we're adults. So Alex states that it is stunningly unimportant information. Julio says that Venom didn't seem to think so, with Bruce adding that if they know that much, they know where she lives. Alarmed, Matt says that Scott's there. Matt radios to Firecracker looking for Buddy's location. And we actually see on the cameras, which is really cool, that he's pulling into Boulder Hill. Matt asks where Scott and Mrs. Simpson were. Buddy replies that he had dropped them off at her house, thinking they'd be safe there. Matt replies that Venom's headed there. The masked vehicles exit with T-Bob asking again, what about him? So Buddy tells him to watch the station.
And then peels out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then the next scene was really cool. We get to see those transformation sequences with Thunderhawk and Firefly as they fly overhead with Rhino and Firecracker driving below. And we get over to Mrs. Simpson's house. We see the Venom vehicles parked outside. The dog is barking. The dog was always barking in this
Mm-hmm.
episode. And her fudge getting knocked over from the stove. Mayhem and Gory approach Scott with a mop in hand and the dog barking. Scott has the. Let me do that again. Mayhem and Gory approach Scott, who has a mop in his hand. I guess trying to fend him off, and of course the dog is still barking.
Mm-hmm.
Scott tells her to run, and she opens the door to find Rax and Vanessa. Mayhem grabs Scott, and Rax grabs her, asking where is her car. Well, Mrs. Simpson tells him that he can just take his dirty hands off her. Gory grabs the mop from Scott as Gory grabs the mop as Mayhem tosses Scott and the barking poodle into a closet. The door is then wedged shut with the mop and a chair. Then they take Mrs. Simpson away with the stove still on.
Mm-hmm.
Venom is heard driving away outside as the stove then catches fire. Smoke comes into the closet from underneath there, and Scott starts coughing, saying something must have caught fire. And then we see the whole kitchen now kind of engulfed in flames as Scott is heard coughing, and we fade to our dramatic commercial break. So here we are. We're halfway through. What are your impressions so far?
Well, right now I'm enjoying the animation. It's been better than what it has been in the past. I like that they had a little confrontation right at the beginning. We got to see some really cool, I'll call it add-ons to Boulder Hill, because we always assumed there was just lasers and that big cannon up on the Boulder Cannon, we call it sometimes. I really didn't realize that there was a lifter set of guns in the billboard. I just thought it was just more lasers, so that was actually kind of cool to see as well. The fire scene was a good cliffhanger because you got, Scott and Mrs. Simpson stuck in that closet trying to get out. The house is getting engulfed. So must have been some spicy fudge to catch fire, I'll tell you though. What I was disappointed with right now is a couple little blunders in the animation. Like I said about the gas pump laser disappeared, then reappeared. The fog scene where you see they're looking at the Boulder Hill, it should have been transformed, but instead it was the gas station model. And then I don't know if you noticed it, but I noticed what was once a mop turned into a broom when they were locked in the broom in the closet.
I'm sure it was just it was weird just seeing I don't know what it was wedged up against to hold the door shut. You think of like putting a broom handle or a mop handle through one of those handles that's actually you can grab with your hand and not a doorknob, but it was just a doorknob, so
that's it.
Whatever.
But really that was my my synopsis. I gave it a rating of 4.5. I only knocked it down a half a point just because of the little tweaks. But
yeah,
it's been a lot better than what we've endured in the last few episodes anyway. How about you? What are you thinking?
I'm gonna kind of disagree.
You always seem to. I don't know how.
Well, and it's obviously we get the synopsis before we go into watching these, so we know a little bit about what's coming up. But the drama setup was good for the halftime or the commercial break, but for me, it was still a little anticlimactic knowing that M.A.S.K was on the way to her house. So we know essentially they're going to be there in time to save Scott in some way and get him out of there. Or at least that's what I was thinking. So I kind of enjoy when we get that drama at the break and we're not sure what's going to happen. How are they going to get out of this? There's no real, clear vision to what's going to happen next. So Yeah, it didn't quite happen the way that I thought it was going to happen, but still, we knew Mask was kind of on the way to help Scott. I don't know, I was kind of bored with the story. Why would Venom want an old woman in her car? It just needed a little bit more of a tease at the beginning. And maybe that was, part of the plan. Well, we're not going to reveal anything, but that Venom's after this old woman. But I don't know. I just seem there's more exciting stories that we've watched before.
True.
Um, it was obviously nice to see Boulder Hill and the conversion, but it was the battle was kind of weird, just with the fog barrier and Rax is just blasting into something that he has no idea what is on the other side or who could be there. Or I don't know. You would think that coming up the road they would kind of know where they're at and what was up there, but I don't know. It was just kind of weird to me. I just prefer the straight up fight, or battle scene. I like those transformation sequences with the vehicles, but it seemed kind of slow too. I don't know if you noticed this or not, especially with Firefly when it was coming up over that crest of that road and then it, turns into the jet.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed a little slow to me. Wanted that a little bit faster. So overall, I was just, okay. I'm middle of the road. I'm 3 out of 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how this is going to turn out.
Well, and again, like I knew there was stuff coming. There had to be some stuff coming, and the fact that we've got a lot of agents too on both sides now. You've got like 4 and 4. It's like a fair fight, So that was interesting to me. That sometimes Venom only has 2 or 3 vehicles, and this time they've got 4, and M.A.S.K has 4, so it should be a more of a fair fight, so to speak.
Right.
Anyway, coming out of the break.
Yeah, we got Scott, who is worried that they'll never get out, but he turns and is surprised that Cleo has lifted up a door on the floor. He crawls in, then we are taken to the outside of the house with the fire. Now we see that this was basically a crawl space where Scott is able to knock out a little screen and they get away. Scott attempts to put the fire out with a garden hose. Saying at least it's better than nothing, but okay.
I guess so.
And notices M.A.S.K flying over. We then cut to a cliffside with the Venom theme playing. A little house cabin. Rax asks her about her car while she replies she will not tell them a thing. She then asks, don't they ever take a bath? They're filthy, while kicking Rex's shin. Vanessa says, your match, huh? Miles states they know they got the car from a dealer in Boulder Hill. And here's where I guess we always called it Boulder Hill, right? But why was it called Boulder Hill? Well, the assumption is because it's up against a boulder type of hill.
Mm-hmm.
Now we find out it's a town. So
right.
At least we now know there's a town called Boulder Hill. Anyway, Mrs. Simpson replies, it's none of their business. Miles chuckles, saying, she'll talk. We have ways. And that's when we cut back to the blaze with Julio running up, saying, Stinger, fire extinguisher on, which is kind of cool. It's better than the gum glue or whatever it was the last
right.
time.
Yeah.
We see Buddy battling the blaze with a garden hose and Bruce using lifter to give him a better angle. After extinguishing the blaze, Matt walks out of the house saying there's no sign of her and thinks they've taken her. Well, no kidding.
I'm going to stop you for a second because did you notice like the lifter effect was new here?
Yes.
I did notice that, and it was kind of a new sound effect too, or at least a different one that we're used to, but I liked the way that it was used, at least. It's kind of dumb that he's just lifting them up to spray the hose on top of the building, but
get a better angle, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Then Alex says that Scott has a wonderful way of staying out of trouble. Of course, Scott thinks he's already being scolded, so he begins to explain that it wasn't his fault while we see Rax racing down the road. Alex takes Scott and they along with Matt hide behind Rhino. Rax shoots out the tires of the M.A.S.K vehicles, then turns around and uses the stiletto mask. Of course, there's no instruction here. And then Matt attempts to run around Rhino, but ends up jumping under Rhino for cover. Cleo begins chasing Rax and barks. Then Rax picks up the dog and races away. And this leaves our team a little bit confused.
Yeah, I mean, Rax was efficient for once.
Yeah, and he didn't get flung off the bike.
No, he was just blasting the crap out of those vehicles, and you see him take out tires and just put as many shots as he can into him, grabs the dog, and heads down the road. Well, by this time, the agents kind of survey the broken down vehicles, with Alex wondering what that was all about. Buddy is puzzled that they wanted the lady in the first place, but why the freaking dog? He didn't say freaking, but
yeah,
I just embellished a little bit there. Bruce pops the hood on Thunderhawk, which is smoking, and says maybe they don't need the answer, but the proper question. Julio then looks at Firefly and says, how do they know she was at the bunker? Which I think at one point we had talked about, or there's been research or whatever, that the Boulder Hill was called the bunker or something like early on. So
it was, but
it apparently was carried over into some of the story writing too, because they call it the bunker here. Matt wondering, how did they even know about the bunker? Buddy says it makes no sense to attack a gas station. Julio jokes that maybe he worked on Mayhem's car and he got the bill. I actually laughed at that one. I thought that was funny. Scott tells him that she told Rax that she just got the car. And Matt asks Buddy if he had the license plate number from the car. Well, then, since he does, Matt then asks the Rhino computer about the car license plate number, and the computer says it's owned by Clara Simpson of Boulder Hill, Nevada. So we got that Boulder Hill's in Nevada. Former owner Ramsey Pugh in D.C. Matt asked for info on Ramsey Pugh, and the computer says he's a former employee of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing and allegedly stole printing plates for $20 bills. He was convicted and imprisoned, but the plates were never recovered. And then Matt just kind of gives a nod to Alex. Yep, this is what, kind of V.E.N.O.M is after. And just then we cut back to V.E.N.O M. Rex pulls into the hideout, walks in with the dog. Mrs. Simpson tells him to let her go, but Mayhem says they'll let her go all right, and he grabs a sack from a nearby table. Rex tries to lower the dog into it, and the dog bites him and tells Mayhem to get the mud off him. And then we're taken a bit later outside, and Mayhem stands atop this huge cliff behind the hideout, holding the sack with the dog over the edge, and tells Mrs. Simpson to tell him where the car is, or Cleopatra will go for a little swim. I was like, wow, okay. She finally relents and says the car is at the Boulder Hill gas station, and Mayhem tells Rax and Dagger to bring them along, as they may need some hostages. And he throws the sack to Rax, and the dog, of course, bites him again from inside of the sack. And then now we follow V.E.N.O M back to her house. Now we follow, and now we go back to Mrs. Simpson's house with M.A.S.K in their broken vehicles.
Right. While the team is fixing up their vehicles, Alex states that they cannot let V.E.N.O M know how badly damaged they are. That's actually impressive. That they finally beat up M.A.S.K. They never do. In fact, they get one or two M.A.S.K rather fires up one or two shots, and Miles scares away, and that's that whole end of the episode.
Right, but my question, cool. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was. I always like to when the vehicles are damaged, they show damage. But my question here was, well, wouldn't Rax already know that he damaged them all up? I mean, I know he was kind of in and out there, but I don't know. Maybe he didn't know that they were beyond repair, or some of them, or like we see later that Thunderhawk can't fly,
Right.
But I don't know. I was just kind of like, Rack should know that they're kind of on their heels and they need to rush them.
That's it. Anyway, so while the team works on the vehicles, Matt is inside Rhino radioing T-Bob to find the engraving plates at the station. T-Bob asks where with an obvious reply that he needs to look all over. Scott assures T-Bob that he'll find them. Well, they'll be there soon. Underneath the car, T-Bob drains one of the fluids with his response being, "Yuck, he'd rather fight Venom than do this." Looking outside, he sees Venom roll up and he says, "I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it." And I actually laughed at that one.
I did too. That was a good joke for once.
Yep. As Venom, as Venom stops, Rack states it should be a piece of cake. As they walk up, they are pelted by cans from the pop machine, which is an impressive pop machine to chucking them out the door.
Right.
As opposed to Jason, reaching up to get his Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
That's another episode. Sorry.
That's another story. Yeah.
Dagger uses torch with no command to melt the machine. T-Bob runs into the garage, covering his head, then grabs and tosses a can of oil. It bursts open, and 3 of the Venom agents slip on it. I actually thought the animation was pretty good there for that scene. Then we're taken inside Outlaw. Cleo bites the ropes off of Mrs. Simpson. Then we're cut right back inside. T-Bob is now chucking tools at Venom. Vanessa uses whip with the command finally, grabbing and flinging a bolt cutter out towards Mrs. Simpson. T-Bob continues his defensive by pulling down the tire rack, burying Dagger underneath. Mrs. Simpson is clipping the tire valves off of all the Venom vehicles, then notices a can of pop and opens it, then pours it into Jackhammer's tank. Miles and Nash tug on T-Bob, who is underneath the car, while he shouts, "Help!" Rax is checking under the seats for the mint plates. And then we are with Vanessa, who attempts to help Dagger. Then she hears M.A.S.K racing up.
Yep. She runs outside to warn the others that M.A.S.K is coming. Inside Rhino now, Alex tells Scott to get down, with Scott complaining he won't be able to see anything if he's down. Well, just about then, Jackhammer it converts, and we see its turret pointing towards M.A.S.K, starts firing. One shot hits Rhino's battering ram grill, but doesn't do any damage. Thunderhawk's wings extend as Bruce says from inside Rhino that it's time to make Venom think the vehicles aren't falling apart. He uses Lifter to fly Thunderhawk, which takes out the Jackhammer turret. Good thing Dagger wasn't inside.
That's what it kind of got me. I was actually impressed. Now we have a pilotless Jackhammer.
Well, they've showed it before, and
have
that was
because I don't remember it being pilotless.
Yeah, no, they've done it before. Because he's been in the cabin firing on people. I do remember that. But it was, I don't know, it was just kind of weird there. Then we see Mayhem is now on the Piranha bike, but it won't start or won't go. Vanessa tries to pull off in Manta, but can't because of a flat tire. Wonders what's going on. And then Rax finally finds the plates in the car. As he leaves the garage, T-Bob extends his legs from underneath the car, causing Rax to trip, and he loses the plate on the ground. It hits the ground and kind of skids on the oil that he'd spilled earlier and slides outside. And then Mayhem finally gets his Piranha bike cranked, runs over the plate, and causes it to break into 1,000 pieces. Mayhem tells Rax that he's a blundering nincompoop, but Rax stands up to him this time. He's saying he did it himself. Firefly begins firing at them as Rax grabs the sub. Not sure if he actually got inside by looking at the animation, but the vehicles kind of drive off in despair. Outlaw actually losing some wheels. That was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think you get a drink. Sorry about that. So Outlaw's losing its wheels, and we see Mrs. Simpson exiting Boulder Hill. and asks Scott to tell her. I'm sorry. Mrs. Simpson exits Boulder Hill, and Scott tells her it's okay. And she says, "Good gracious, more people in masks." And this just kind of bugged me to death. So she doesn't know who M.A.S.K is by, because they got their masks on. They don't know it's Matt and Buddy and all the people that, have been around her this whole time. Buddy with his computer, in the... I don't know. This has happened before, that M.A.S.K is mysterious. They don't know who these people are helping them. These strange masks, but I don't know. Here we are. This just doesn't set right with me. They should be able to recognize voices, or, anyway. Matt is then holding Cleopatra, the dog, who is licking his arm, and she says, "That's odd. She doesn't usually like strange people. Maybe he's not a strange person underneath that mask." Bruce jokes to Matt that he's just about as a strange person as you can find. Matt interjects that it just goes to show you that she has good taste. And then Cleopatra jumps from his arms to chase T-Bob as they have a good laugh. But this story's not over yet. We're taken back to the Trakker mansion. Do you want me to go ahead and finish and you do the PSA? Okay. We're taken back to the Trakker mansion, and Mrs. Simpson is sitting on the couch with Matt, Buddy, and Scott, and wishes the nice people that saved her could have came to have tea with them. Matt says it's the thought that counts. She remarks it was good of Matt to let her stay until the insurance company repairs her cottage. Matt says it's been a pleasure for all of them. And then we get T-Bob walking in again as Cleopatra gives chase again, and Matt corrects himself that it's been a pleasure for almost all of them. We get a good laugh as the dog continues to chase T-Bob, and we fade to black and fade up into our PSA.
Where a storm is happening while we hear the oomph from T-Bob. Matt says to hold it and instructs that we should know where to keep a flashlight so we can find it. Well, duh. As we hear a newscast over the radio state that there is a power outage in Boulder Hill, Nevada, Matt reminds us that we should always keep batteries in them. Otherwise, they won't work. There's a scene in my head, but I can't say it on our G-rated show. Scott asks, how many batteries it should take to get T-Bob to work? I'm sorry. Scott asks how many batteries it would take to get T-Bob to work right. T-Bob replies, "Very funny." And that's when we fade off with a chuckle. So, I'm, again, almost afraid to ask. Have we reached a 1 yet?
No. It wasn't a 1. Here's some good things. There were some better jokes in this episode. You laugh at me. I'm trying to be positive here.
I know, but I think of our comedian. I can't remember his name that we used to. It's cold in Buffalo, and I just kind of hear his voice with you saying, "Here's some good things."
There were some better jokes in the second half, mainly, but Scott is still a chip off the old block. He's still using the puns when escaping from dangerous house fire situations. I'm like, you're in danger and you're throwing the puns. But T-Bob's joke, and I can't remember what the other one was, that I was like, that was a genuine laugh out loud moment. I thought it was fun, and T-Bob wasn't using puns. And still, I think the best part about the episode was the conversion shots of the vehicles, especially Boulder Hill. Obviously we didn't got Boulder Hill, but just a few times in the whole, all the episodes that we've watched. So it's fun that we get to see it and to see it transform. And like you said, showing off some of the features that we might just assume are lasers, and they're not. They're different things. So that was good. The battles are pretty good. Even though that first one was kind of indirect, um, it was still, you get 2 battle sequences in here. You can't complain about that. Uh, there was a lot of good mask use, but they were still inconsistent with the no commands. I mean, I don't think any of the Venom people except for Vanessa used a command when they're using their masks in the whole episode. When Rax came up shooting stiletto darts, the torch fireballs to the Coke machine, and even Powerhouse. I don't know if he used Powerhouse. Maybe he did use a command with that.
He did.
But yeah, I mean, there's still several good uses there. We didn't get anything on the other side except for Lifter, twice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It would have been nice to have some more mask in those battles. And the damage to the vehicles too. I mean, like I said, that's always good when you're showing damage in real time, or true to life battles with lasers, and stuff's going to get shot up and wheels are going to get flat, and it was good that they show that. I'll just pass on that. We lost Gory for several scenes. This was more of a tick. We kind of lost him there, like when Mrs. Simpson was held hostage. He wasn't inside with them, and then he kind of pops up again at the end when they're in the battle there when they're back at Boulder Hill for the second time. So I was like, well, wait, where'd Gory go? And there he was at the end. So I was like, okay, so they got him back in the area. But I don't know. I just from where I was at halftime, I didn't move it up or down. I was just still kind of in that, okay, there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, and I thought it kind of equaled itself out. So I just landed in the middle. I'm gonna rate this one a 3.
Okay.
What say you, sir?
Well, like I said, the animation was pretty decent. Still pretty decent throughout. I liked there was a lot of action going on with the entire episode. Scott and T-Bob were involved in a good way. They weren't actually annoying. They were also not in the way or getting stuck behind in the truck bed of Firecracker.
Yeah, it would, like he was saying, it truly wasn't his fault this time that he was kind of in harm's way. So
it was actually good stuff.
That was a good thing. Yeah.
And the jokes were actually decent, not like you often say, roll your eyes moments. T-Bob did put up a fight. I'll give him that. Pop cans, I guess, will work. Oil spills. His gadget arm to trip Rax. That was all good. I loved it. The stolen mint plates and the interest in Mrs. Simpson's car was great. It was a good mystery, at least for me, early on. Why were they after this car, especially a broken down car at that? But it was a good reason for Venom to go back to Boulder Hill. Venom actually crippling M.A.S.K, which you've already commented on. To see the mortality of the vehicles was awesome to see. They were able to do the illusion is the ultimate weapon, basically, with the lifter flying Thunderhawk.
Mm-hmm.
The fog was cool, like you said. I thought it was a good defensive measure, actually. We've already hit on the M.A.S.K commands. Some of them were set, some were not, mostly from the Venom side.
Mm-hmm.
The oddity that Jackhammer was completely automated, not just from the cab of the truck, but I didn't see Dagger or anyone get into the truck. So
that's true.
It kind of went on autopilot. The call-up was decent. But like you said, I didn't think too much of it because it is a cartoon. But the fact that M.A.S.K is supposed to be undercover and Mrs. Simpson didn't realize who they were, even though Scott and T-Bob were there with or without them being in their masks. Just saying.
Yeah.
All in all, I came down a little bit because I got tired of the little blunders with the mask commands. Uh, I'm at a 4, so it wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I say they were little ticks, little mistakes. Nothing for me, nothing big that stood out.
Okay.
Uh, did you see any similarities to our script by chance?
I mean, just the fact that they were, and this is probably to our credit that we did a little bit of research and knew that they were in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing that we kind of hone in on that area. Um, is it Lake Tahoe we use? I think in the script for some scenes, which is there in
Yeah.
Nevada.
Yep.
So that area, that just what kind of stuck out to me is what we use in the script.
Right. Yeah,
How
we
about you?
used Boulder Hill. In fact, I kind of took a lot of Google images, or rather Google Maps satellite images to try to figure out where we should place Boulder Hill. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that we did put in the script was Jackhammer being crippled. Remember, we spilled Jackhammer, and we actually had they were a later agent
Mm-hmm.
in the cartoon, but we brought him up. I think was it Nash? I can't remember who we killed off.
Bruno.
Bruno. Yeah, we killed off Bruno early on. He was in the turret and got taken out.
Actually, I think it was at the end battle.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
If I remember right, yeah.
But what I mean is he was a later character
Right.
in the cartoon, but we actually pulled
Yeah, I
him
think
up.
that was right. I think that was kind of like a pet peeve for us. We're like, okay, well, how we see in one of the really early episodes, I remember there being like a gadget that brought, I think it was Vanessa from the passenger side up into the turret.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah, that
remember
was just
that?
one. Yeah,
So we were just kind of, let's get rid of all that elaborate stuff. And with Venom's vehicles basically being built from a
junkyard parts.
junkyard,
Yeah,
let's just be practical about it and have two people in Jackhammer, one who would pilot the drive the vehicle and one would be in the turret. So you get two people and you don't have this one person trying to maneuver the turret, shoot, and drive at the same time, you know?
that's it. That's exactly
and
it.
and that was, and I guess part of it too is, and we've seen Dagger up in the turret driving. So he's, I don't know. I think that we just kind of hashed that out and the logistics of the whole matter. We were like, let's just put two people in there. And then when Jackhammer crashes, Bruno's stuck in the turret,
Right.
basically. So
That's it. But yeah, that rounds it out for similarities. That leads us on to our fans who have, or I'm sorry, our ratings before we get to the fans and their comments.
right, yeah, the poll. We had 13 votes in the poll, 5 votes for 5, 4 votes for 4, 3 votes for 3. Actually, that makes 12. How do we get 5, 4, 3? How do we vote 13 times and only get 12 in here? That's weird. Okay. Anyway, so we got 12 votes.
I'm trying to refresh and see if it'll show me.
It says 13 in the corner, and I'm only getting 12 from the hovering over it. Anyway, so you were definitely, more, 9 out of the 12 people, 67%, or is that 60? No, that's 75% are in the 4 or 5 range, and I was on the lower end at 25%. But yeah, most people, and I would probably venture a guess that they like seeing Boulder Hill, and that was the main reason why they rated this higher. But we've got 2 comments, 2 reviews from our listeners.
Right, we got Renee Declare. A very enjoyable episode. Even though the mask agents are portrayed just as clueless as Venom this time, they could have avoided the first battle at Boulder Hill completely, and poor T-Bob wouldn't have gotten in the line of fire by remaining in gas station mode. I suppose it was the only way the writers could think of to showcase Boulder Hill's defenses. There were also more animation errors than usual in this first battle. Nice to see Buddy has rebuilt Firecracker for personal use and that he decided to join the mission even though he wasn't part of the M.A.S.K computer's selection.
Mm-hmm.
It was also surprising to hear Alex scolding Scott, and when Sly didn't complain when Mayhem commandeered Piranha, I gave it a 3 out of 5 for originality despite the minor flaws. That's actually a good point. I wasn't even thinking about it. Should have. We knew that Firecracker died off. So why is it back?
Right. Yeah. That was a major.
That was a big flaw. We should have marked both of ourselves down there.
Yeah. That was a major deal when Firecracker was melted. I can't remember which episode that was, and then you get Hurricane. So obviously these are not in chronological order as we're watching them.
I guess not. And that brings us on to our favorite fan, Anna.
Yep. Anna says, this is a really good episode. It's one of my favorites in the entire series. It's very different from the others because the entire episode takes place in the Boulder Hill area. And it's also one of the 2 episodes that we get to see the gas station at Boulder Hill transform, which immediately makes this episode a fan favorite. I love the character, Mrs. Simpson, and that we get to hear a little bit about Scott's past. And I think Mrs. Simpson is really brave facing V.E.N.O.M. when she refuses to tell them anything, at least until they threaten her dog, Cleopatra, and when she sabotages the cars at the end. I also like how Scott immediately starts to put out the fire when he escaped the burning house, and T-Bob shows great bravery when fighting V.E.N.O.M. at the gas station. The episode also contains some good humor, like when T-Bob says he'd rather fight V.E.N.O.M. than fix Mrs. Simpson's car, and his reaction when V.E.N.O.M. then shows up and when Cleopatra bites Rax from inside the bag. Finally, we get to learn through the PSA that Boulder Hill is supposed to be in Nevada, which is always nice to know. The woman speaking on the radio in the PSA actually sounds a bit like Vanessa. I know it's the same voice actress, Sharon Noble, but I thought it was quite cool that she sounded like Vanessa here. In other words, a really enjoyable episode. So thank you for that, Anna, as always. I don't know. Maybe I'm turning a little bit towards the 3.5 mark. The more I hear her and some of the other points that you're making. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards our first reviewer there, and just the flaws were noticeable. And when that stuff kind of gets by me, or when you usually catch it more than I do. I'm noticing a lot, I'm like, oh, come on, people. Right. But yeah, I think that is part of the reason why this one was voted higher, was you're getting to see Boulder Hill, and it's in that area, right, just kind of hanging out there. There's only a couple other episodes. There's one I remember where I think it's the one where they're at the movie theater to begin the episode, and Scott takes off on T-Bob from Boulder Hill up to wherever they were going, where the V.E.N.O.M. was attacking. It was kind of nearby. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, that was neat that they're kind of in that area. And yeah, I mean, I've showcased T-Bob's bravery in that little music video. Yeah. So yeah, it was good that he did what he could to keep him away. Pretty impressive. But yeah, so that'll kind of wrap up episode 54, and we'll be going on to obviously episode 55 and our next review, Plunder of the Glowworm Grotto. And this is where M.A.S.K team member Julio Lopez goes to New Zealand to help a local tribe preserve their land. And while he's there, he discovers that V.E.N.O.M. is plotting to steal pearls from giant clams that live in the ocean. So we're going to have to go on a clam-saving mission to to stop Venom in the next episode, going back outside of the U.S. And I knew we usually don't stay in the U.S. too long in these
No,
stretches. Mask is truly a worldwide cartoon,
especially
going
in the
all over the
cartoon.
place. Yeah. So yeah, I want to keep in this groove. I'm ready to watch the next episode. Um, keep going towards that ultimate 75.
That's it.
We'll have 20 to go after the next one. So it's fun, man. Glad to be
Uh,
back in the studio.
Yeah, I love this, and I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we apologize for the lengthy respite. I don't know if that's the word for it, but it was for us from talking about Mask, which is still one of our fond favorites.
Hmm.
Um, but thank you again on behalf of Jason. I'm Wyatt, and thanks for joining us on MASKast.
And we are out. Thanks for everybody watching the video. Just a reminder, go listen to the podcast too, because you'll get a lot more uh, cool little clips and stuff that I actually do some producing time.
Yeah.
And not all of our mistakes, but sometimes it's just easier to, if you're on YouTube, to listen to us here. But we appreciate you nonetheless. And
Yeah.
we'll say goodbye for now. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us.